Hey guys, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Through the Glass Table. My name is Ismael.
And I'm Everett Walker.
And today we're going to be talking about Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope.
A New Hope is the seminal entry into, and way back in 1977, our first adventure within the Star Wars universe. It introduces Luke Skywalker, an angst-filled moisture farmer who yearns to find a greater purpose and his place within the galaxy. His yearning is fulfilled when he receives a message from the beautiful yet tough Princess Leia, who begs for the assistance of a warrior from eons past named Obi-Wan Kenobi to help her escape the grips of the nefarious galactic enforcer, Darth Vader. With the help of a bucket of bolts ship and its rogue with a heart of gold pilot named Han Solo and his lovable hairy first mate Chewbacca, Luke flies off into the darkest reaches of hyperspace and straight into his destiny and to put him on the path on the hero that he was born to be. I am extremely giddy because we just suffered through 1, 2, and 3, and we're finally at the one that started it all, Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, and I'm in love with this movie. I don't really have a lot of bad things to say about it.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have much I had against it. Maybe just a little things that, as a kid I didn't notice that I maybe just nitpicky. But overall, it's still a fucking great movie. Yeah. After so many fucking years, it's still on point.
It is. That's the power of great storytelling. Is that all these years, 35 years later, almost 40 years later, I can show this to my brother and he would enjoy this just as much as we did. It's timeless.
Cinematic history too, if you have to think about it. It changed a lot of how we do things nowadays. Why don't you get into it a bit about what grabbed you?
The story is just very deceptively simple, and I think that's what drags me into it more because I hate sci-fi and I hate fantasy more than sci-fi.
That's true. You do hate sci-fi.
So I shouldn't even like movies like this, but the story is just so it grabs you in, And then also I don't know the experience of only knowing that this movie existed because we were born when all of this was already done, and so just to have this universe that you can relate to, but it's also foreign. I think that's what makes me so excited whenever I see 4, 5, and 6.
We talked about how 1, 2, and 3 don't have that human element. It feels more like CGI being the main component. Here, there's actual more live sets. There's what's that called?
Banter.
Yeah, that too. There's the banter between the characters is real.
They have personalities.
Luke is one that's always struggling to define himself. Han is, what would Han be?
Han's just he's like the hooker with a heart of gold, but he's not a hooker. He pretends like he doesn't care about anything, but at the end of the day, he does.
Really does. And Princess Leia is just a person who is what?
I don't know. I called her a bitch last time, and I didn't like that.
What I was picking up from is that she's a leader, but she's stressed that she just wants to do good.
Yeah, I think too. There's some 70s politics going on in her portrayal.
Well, between her and Han, definitely that whole.
It's the reversal of the sexual roles.
Right. So this is the 70s, right? So there's more of a women's movement coming.
Yeah,
there's
full speed.
Right, because this is in 77, so it's the surge of which one? The feminist movement. Which one is the second or third?
I think that's the second wave with Gloria Aldridge and all that stuff.
There wasn't a lot of Darth Vader in this one that I remember. I don't remember ever being like that. There was only selected scenes with him in it, and I gotta say, when he first appears, when he's taking over that ship in the first scene, I kind of laughed because. Just because you said that his presence is supposed to be so intimidating, but I didn't find it so intimidating.
Well, I was just thinking, if you had never seen any of these movies before, and just this weird thing emerges from the smoke.
Yeah, a weird big thing with the big ass head.
But see, we've seen it all already, So I was just thinking, back in 1977, that would have probably been intimidating to people. You thought.
Maybe I am looking at it at a present goggles, but it just looks so funny. It just looks so funny. Yeah. I think James Earl Jones just made the character. I'm not saying that Prowse, right?
David
Prowse didn't make him. I'm just saying that it's Earl Jones.
Yeah. Well, it seems like a lot of this movie too is elevated because of post-production.
Oh, yeah.
Post-production things that happened because
there was a lot of hard things to do in this one. They were experimenting and
things
doing
that didn't exist. There was no process.
So they were taking a big risk. So Chewie seems a lot more groomed. from like the special, the special, he was all over the fucking place. But in this one, he seems more groomed and composed. It's kind of cool, I guess, to see Mark Hamill before, like pre-accident. He was. Is it wrong to Is it wrong to say that he was a like cute little guy before his accident?
He was a beautiful little man. And he had that 70s hair flip thing going on.
He did it in that one scene I told you where he's like, "Oh, it's Han."
It's like, what's wrong?
Carrie Fisher too, she's always been beautiful, but man, when she was, how old were they when they did this movie?
Carrie Fisher was the youngest. I think Carrie Fisher was like 18.
Really?
Yeah, and Harrison Ford was the oldest. He may have been like 25 already, and then maybe Luke was in between that. I'm not too sure.
Man,
about
they
that.
were so
they were
young.
very young. Yeah, Carrie Fisher has a lot of baby fat, and it makes her look.
Yeah, her cheeks, right?
Yeah,
it was her cheeks were like so puffy.
Yeah, because in Empire she already lost a little bit of weight. It was probably from that shit. She has a lot of baby fat. She looks very young.
Seeing it now, like, what pops out more? Seeing it again after so many.
Just the way everything ties together, just how the action is propelled. That always, from a screenwriting standpoint, that always fascinated me, because there's no points where things are just happening because we got to get to the next plot, which is crazy because this is the same man who we just watched the prequels with and complained primarily about that. Mm-hmm. And that everything happens organically and it just wraps up tightly.
It was. There were some scenes that I questioned, and like they were really short, and like you had even mentioned, like his emotions that Luke is supposed to be feeling when his aunt and uncle died. It's so quick. It's so quick. But I think it needed to be done because they didn't want to make this movie too long. They didn't want to make it too much so complicated. It's just supposed to drive the essential, point of when they're gonna destroy everything and who Luke is supposed to meet and fulfill his own destiny. And the only thing that was tying him to Tatooine was
Uncle Owen and what's her name,
Beru.
It's an infamous story about the making of Star Wars and the first draft, that it was terrible and that it was very long and it made no fucking sense, and that this movie was totally created in the editing process. So I'm pretty sure there are like loads and loads of extra footage of the stuff we're saying, of like not having Luke have enough emotions when his parents die, or even like Leia after her whole planet blew up.
Yeah, she didn't. She was like, eh.
Yeah, and that was it. And she didn't really have anything else to say about that.
Since we're on the topic of these characters, these actors, let's talk a little bit about Alec Guinness. I know, like, when people talk about the movie, he's like one of the things that always comes up as being the best part of the movie, but he didn't really do much for me, or like he wasn't really on screen that much. So I don't know. How do you feel? Yeah,
well, it could be one of those things of like Gary Oldman. Kind of at this point, when he does a movie, it's just okay. But that's because he's so great that we're expecting it. I think Alec Guinness elevated some of the lines that he has to say in this movie a little bit more than what they are. But I agree. I think he's just there. He's part of the plot. There is one giant negative that we have in talking about this film, and it's not the original film's fault, but it's the motherfucking special effects that George Lucas added in the 90s, and I think even as late as like the early 2000s, of just this egregious, useless CGI additions that mean nothing to the story, and if anything, it takes away from the fucking story.
As you can see, my friend has become Italian mad. There's like a million fucking little fucking aliens walking around grounds now.
And to what story purpose?
Nothing.
What did that
There's
add?
these new like angle shots of them coming in, or these animals just walking through the screens or walking through the shots.
Oh, the worst one is when R2-D2 is hiding in that cave, and George Lucas digitally added a rock in front of him. What the fuck did that change about anything that was going on in that scene? Except for that, it just pissed me the fuck off.
Maybe because, he was feeling anxious, and anxious leads to anger.
It's just...
They didn't add anything. They really didn't add anything to the story that was already there. I think he was just trying to tweak it to what he originally wanted to do, but you didn't need to do it. you had a fantastic movie.
Yeah. I know people probably from the outside, people who don't like Star Wars, don't understand why so many people take this film series so seriously and to heart. And I don't know, it's something about these movies. I probably saw the first time I ever saw a Star Wars movie was probably in the early 90s. And I just remember not really understanding why I was so fascinated with them, but I was obsessed with them. And I never got into that extended universe shit and all that other stuff. But these movies, I don't know. They awaken something in me, and it's kind of like I can identify with Luke of not really knowing you're meant for something great, but not really knowing how to get there. And I think that's something that sucks me in. And as I've gotten older, I'm starting to understand more and more. And the more experiences I've had, the more Darth Vaders I've faced in my lifetime, and I'm starting to understand still taking things from these movies. And I don't see an end in sight of me loving these movies.
I think I watched it around the same time, like in the 90s. Of course, there were VHS at that time.
Yeah.
I remember my uncle owning, the whole set that comes, the big
giant cassette.
The big giant one. And we used to watch those. His favorite one was Return of the Jedi, so we used to watch that one a lot. But we used to watch him like during the holidays and all that stuff. And so for me, Star Wars was always a way to take us out. Like, to take us out of our element. Because, of course, it deals with space and, like, this adventure and this science fiction stuff. But what you're saying, there's elements of, like, human understandings in there that I think, as a child, I didn't know what it was. So it always interested me. And it's only now that I understand that it's about connections and friendships and being able to propel each other. Like, they all, towards the end, really depend on another. Like Han goes back for Luke because he sees something in him. At first he tries to ask him, right? He tries to ask him, come with me. Well, why does he have to ask him to come with him? Because he actually cares about him, right? There's supposed to be that logic behind it. And, at the very end when they all get, rewarded for helping to secure the universe's peace and, It's because they care about each other. And even R2-D2. Even R2-D2 has that. He's one of the most,
lovable, inanimate objects.
Yeah. He does not talk at all throughout this movie. But his emotions are there.
You understand every bleep.
And I think that's what grabs me. Because deep down inside, I am like a helpless romantic. You always knew that. So that's who I am. And that's pretty why I think that's my connection to the Star Wars movies. So, what do you rate it? I mean, this is irrelevant to this point because we're already...
I absolutely have to give it a 5 out of 5. It's not as good as what we're going to talk about next because that's really going to be where I'm not going to stop talking. But I just think in its place in history... That's the
addition of Billy...
well, he's part of it. But just in terms of film history, what it's added, for better or for worse, because... It's created the culture of special effects. It is absolutely a supreme movie.
I have to agree with you, and I have to agree with your rating, 5 out of 5. Not because we're trying to sell it or whatever. You have to watch it and judge it for yourself. And really, this is all relative, right?
Yeah.
These ratings, but it's a 5 out of 5, and like just story wise, it's really great. You have a central beginning, the drive for the character, the conflict, and the resolution.
And you know who the characters are. You remember every line. It's perfect.
Thanks again, guys. Keep watching with us because we're going to be still driving these out up until Star Wars The Force Awakens, which is coming pretty soon. It's December 18th. It's only less than a month away.
Yep. And when you guys go see the movie, we've been trying to plan out something to where you guys will send us a little short review, whether it's on a phone or a video or something, and we may add you to our Force Awakens review. So I'll give you guys some participation in this gigantic galactic event
that's happening.
Yeah.
That's
pretty much it. So bye.
Bye.
May the Force be with you always.